Hello and welcome to Ryno's Ravens Review. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Ravens went into Jacksonville last night and beat the Jaguars. With a little bit of help from the Jaguars because they did not perform well at all. See right here on the screen, this is BaltimoreRavens.com. Right on their homepage, Baltimore Ravens 23, Jacksonville Jaguars 7. All right, before I get any further, let's look at my headliner notes. Kyle Hamilton looked to be okay. He had a somewhat bulky of a knee brace on, but really didn't appear to be that limited, which is kind of surprising. And on a sadder note, Stanley, Williams, and Mitchell left the game with injuries. Stanley, on a play that probably should have been a penalty, pulling around to the right, and he got low helmet-to-helmet contact on a defender, so they kind of took him out. Concussion protocol type deal. Marcus Williams on we'll call it a touchdown saving tackle in the final minutes of the first half, came down somewhat awkwardly on his hip, and he did not return after that. Now, Keaton Mitchell, it's very sad. Walk on in the training camp. Hasn't been utilized that much. Well, run out to the right. It was kind of like a toss sweep kind of deal. He got outside the numbers, tripped up by a defender a little bit, and when his leg went to plant to keep going, which he ended up doing, he did break the tackle anyway. It planted and well, I guess technically it planted fine, but because of the way his body was, made his knee fold the opposite direction that it's supposed to. So we will not see him in a Ravens uniform for a while. Pretty sure it was announced somewhere on here that he will, somewhere over here. See Harbaugh in the press conference. Mitchell season-ending knee surgery. Not much word yet, if any word yet, on the game status of Stanley and Williams. A little too early to tell on them. Now, even though they lost several key players during the game, Ravens were still able to win and clinch a playoff spot. Seeding not yet to be determined. Lamar Jackson was under duress most of the game. A very good pass rushing unit there in Jacksonville. But if you can't contain Lamar Jackson and you pass rush him, he's going to get out of the pocket and he's going to make plays. Made several great scrambles, turned into runs for first downs and yards, and on a few plays had some very nice passes. The one to likely, where it went, it was like in the third quarter or something, he just tossed it up to him downfield, but at the same time getting out of the pocket, rolling to the right, you're essentially cutting off half the field because you're supposedly told as a quarterback anyway to not throw the ball across your body. Well, Lamar did that a little bit. Maybe it wasn't like a huge throw across his body, but he did throw the ball across his body and it was picked off. It's like Lamar giveth and Lamar taketh awayeth. All right, let's get into some of the numbers here. This is the Game Center page on Ravens.com. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 24. Not great passing numbers. 171 yards. It's not terrible for only 14 passes completed. 1 touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely, and you see the 1 pick. Ravens really did establish the ground game. Ran well all game. Jackson, 97 yards himself. Don't really like that he ran so much, but to a certain extent, I want to say close to half of those were, on scrambles. So it's not like they were design runs. Mitchell carried the ball 9 times, and he caught 2, actually. So the 11 touches and 73 rushing yards before he had to leave the game. Gus Edwards, 16 carries, 58 yards, and a touchdown. It's pretty good for Edwards. I mean, it's a little more than 3 yards a carry, which you would like to see a little more. You'd like to see it closer to 4 or 5, but he is kind of that hammer. Edwards with a touchdown. And Justice Hill got a few more carries because of the absence of Keaton Mitchell. 5 touches for 23 yards, which is pretty good. What other notes do I have? Jackson not great at passing, almost 100 yards rushing. Far too many carries. I don't like the carries. Oh, another great game by Likely. Yes, I mentioned that there was a long pass down the field, but there was also the touchdown pass. One of them I didn't even put on here when it was, but actually got down the field relatively nicely, and then Lamar hit Charlie Kohler on the seam on the left side, and they were in the goal situation, but then there was a penalty. What was the penalty? Was that when Simpson shoved the... No, it's when Simpson headbutted the safety. Pretty sure that's what it was. So that brought him back. Well, that actually opened up the field. That's what the term is. It opens up the field more, and then Lamar just throws a touchdown pass to Likely. Almost the same play, except flip to the right side. Yeah, that really good play for Likely. It was actually a good play by Lamar too. When was it? It's I have written down here late in the third quarter. Lamar takes pressure from I don't remember what it was, right side or left side. Doesn't really matter, but guy kind of goes up high to try to get an arm around the shoulder pads. Lamar does some crazy slip, duck, dive, spin move, gets out of it, rolls to the right a little bit. The defender's still coming after him, and Lamar just kind of tosses it up there to Likely, who's actually in double coverage. I mean, it may have been zone coverage, but there were 2 guys there. Likely just goes up high points of football, takes it away from both the defenders. Very great play all around. And what I have, what do I want to say? I mentioned that Likely, and I think I've been saying this the whole year, that Likely to me looked like a good player. I think I said it last year because he filled in a little bit for Andrews last year. But because of how many people are on the roster, Likely doesn't get too many practice reps with Lamar. So it's like he's Likely's second on the depth chart, or was. Lamar's 1. Lamar usually practices with the 1s. Likely usually practices with the 2. So not much of a rapport between Likely and Jackson early in the season. And many other weapons like Odell and Aguilar and Flowers and everybody else on the dumb list. But now that Andrews has gone down, few games, I guess it took 1 or 2 games for Lamar to get comfortable throwing to Likely. Well, he seems comfortable now. What's this, his second? This is his second or third straight game with a touchdown pass. Yeah. If you didn't have a good rapport with him earlier in the season, well, he's getting one. That's even better, especially even better for next year or whenever it is Andrews can come back, because then you can have Likely and Andrews out there. It just makes everything better, especially in the red zone, because now you have 2 big, tall targets in the red zone. If you have just 1, it's easier to take that 1 away. If you have 2, it's a lot harder to take 2 away. Not sure what was going on close to the end of the third quarter. Very indecisive. Was it at the end? I get the Likely pass likely was late in the third quarter, but much closer to the, I guess that pass was around 4 or 5 minutes, much closer to the end of the quarter. They had the ball. What were they on? Like the 42. They were on Jacksonville's 42. And fourth down coming up. Going for it. Punting. Kicking a field goal. Didn't seem like the offense, the special teams, Lamar, or John Harbaugh knew what to do. Extremely indecisive. And by the time you even decided, you had like 10 seconds left on the play clock. So, really good job by the coaching staff and deciding whether to kick a field goal, punt it, or go for it. I understand it's a hard decision. I completely understand. If you're on the 42-yard line, they might have been on like the 39-yard line. Would have been like a 57, 56-yard field goal for Tucker with a lot of wind. It was very windy. If you're on the East Coast, you know we got storms moving up and down the coast, so lots of winds whipping around. Not the greatest time to be kicking field goals. So you do kind of understand the thought process is, maybe we shouldn't kick a field goal. Maybe we should try to punt it to kick them deep. Or maybe we should go for it. Or maybe we should kick it. Right. But at the same time, you do have to kind of do something. What they ended up doing was just taking a delay of game penalty and punting, which is a strategy in that situation where you think it's too long of a field goal, but you're on the 40-yard line, so your punter doesn't really have enough room to pin them back. Because if it bounces in the field of play, it's probably going to go in the end zone for a touchback. You don't want that. You want to pin them back deep. So you take that delay of game and you get yourself an extra 5 yards. Turned out not needing it, or did they need it? Didn't they drop him at like the 10-yard line or something? I can't remember. And the last thing to mention about the offense. And let's go to NFL.com and look at these numbers here. You can also look at the drive summary here. Look at this. Turnover on downs by Jacksonville. And then last possession, Baltimore Ravens offense held the ball for 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Oh my God, you finally did it. You finally closed out a damn game. Now again, you got a little bit of help because to end this turnover on downs drive by the Jacksonville Jaguars, there was a questionable call back of the end zone. Hamilton actually got a few fingers on it, which really turned out to be the change of the actual thing that changed the play. Because if Hamilton doesn't get a finger on it, then the receiver catches the ball cleanly in the end zone. But because Hamilton got a few fingers on it, the ball wobbled a little bit more, a little harder for the receiver to cleanly catch the ball before he rolled out of bounds because he had to go to a knee. He was right there where he was like 2 feet from the end line. So he catches the ball, bobbles it, rolls, and it was very close, very hard to tell whether he regained possession of the football before his right ass cheek touched out of bounds. Now, I don't know the name of the official on the broadcast, and I mean the in the booth official that is with NBC's broadcast of the football game. That man was not happy that wasn't called a touchdown. To him, it was clear and obvious, and I don't think he knows what clear and obvious is. Maybe it's why we have so much problem with referees in the NFL. Because you got referees like that. Oh, that's clear and obvious. Bro, that wasn't clear and obvious at all. I mean, they put 2 pictures up. One was the back of the receiver, and one was the front of the receiver. So with the picture of the front, you could clearly see when he regained possession of the ball. I've got to say that. Not really start catching, but regained possession because of the tipped. because of the tip. So those pictures are synced up. And when you look at the picture of his backside, it's not clear and obvious that his right ass cheek isn't laying on the white part of the field. It's not. It's just not. I'm not saying it wasn't a touchdown. I'm just saying it wasn't clear and obvious. So, finally had a call go our way. And Jacksonville just couldn't. I mean, at this point, they needed a touchdown. So, they went for it and didn't get it. So, Ravens got the ball deep in their own territory, but were able to manage 47 yards to run the clock out. It's about time. Because what we had been seeing from the defense the past few weeks, they have been kind of getting been some miscues. Of course, with Williams out now and Hamilton a little sidelined by injury, not necessarily sidelined, but hampered a little bit. I mean, he has to be hampered a little bit, especially with that knee brace on. There's no way he can get up to top speed with that knee brace. Now, can he be at 90% speed? And is that still better than, let's say, the next man on the depth chart? Possibly. I mean, especially with Williams out. Get to the defense. Only one sack to speak of, which is... Oh, no, that's not true. Yes, we did get it. They did get another... No, wait, this is Jacksonville. Okay. Jacksonville had a bunch of sacks. The Ravens did not have a bunch of sacks. The Ravens only had one sack by Justin Madubuike. That's right. Another sack, so that is 11 straight weeks with at least a half a sack, and that ties an NFL record with 2 or 3 other players. Surprisingly enough, and I guess it's not surprisingly enough, it is surprising that they didn't get another sack, but the way the passing rules have been, and I mentioned this in at least one other video, because you allow quarterbacks to throw the ball regardless, it is going to hinder how many sacks your defense is going to get. One of the times the Ravens had the Jaguars pinned deep, they had Lawrence wrapped up about on the 1-yard line. And of course, in the process of going down, he just kind of throws the ball. It lands about 5 yards away from him, about 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and no receiver in the area. Now, I don't understand how that's even allowed. How is that even allowed? You're not even trying to complete a pass. You're not even trying to complete a pass. All he's actually trying to get the call an incomplete pass. How should that be allowed? That should not be allowed. You just robbed a defensive player from a sack when they clearly earned it. Especially because the referees called intentional grounding. Instead of just adding loss of downs and yards, they should also award the defensive player or players responsible for said intentional grounding with a sack or a half a sack. It really should. Or at the very least, award the whole team or the whole defense with a sack. Because that is what it is. It's a sack. Award them with a sack. I don't care what penalty, stupid penalty, it's ridiculous. You're literally taking dollars off the table of defensive players because why? Because you're giving offensive players carte blanche to play football however they feel like it. Oh, and another instance where the NFL is doing that. Remember I said the Ronnie Stanley play where he ended up going off the field? That should have been a penalty. He used his helmet to smash into a defender. It's a penalty. Hell, they flagged the Jaguars player with that when all he was doing was coming up to make a stop on Gus Edwards. You're coming in like this to a running back. That's how you make a tackle. But a running back doesn't need to do this to you. The running back does not need to lower his head on the defender. He doesn't. He doesn't need to. To do his job, he doesn't need to. A defender needs to. Otherwise, he won't make the tackle. But yet, you'll flag a defender for helmet-to-helmet contact, but you won't flag an offensive player for helmet-to-helmet contact. Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, what else am I talking about? Oh, the gift turnover. That's what I was saying about the Jaguars actually kind of helping the Ravens beat the Jaguars. When was this? This was late in the first half, wasn't it? Lawrence on a scramble out to the left. He's running, I think he was about at the 10-yard line. I don't know if he was trying to do something with the ball, change hands, cover up, but all of a sudden, the ball starts squabbling in his hands, and it just hits the ground. Wow. Talk about a gift. So, Ravens defender again, I don't even remember who it was. Might be on here somewhere. Yard, no. Interception yards, but it wasn't an interception. Somebody picked it up. Well, it was Millette. That's what this, okay. You see here, fumbles. Madubuike forced a fumble. Oh, yeah, that sack, he also forced a fumble on that sack. This other time here, technically wasn't a forced fumble, but it was up in Millette that picked it up. So instead of RAC being a recovery, it is recovery yards. So Millette gained 21 yards on that, which is thanks so much. And another gift to close out the first half. They got a big, Jaguars were approximately midfield. They got a big play. Went down to the 7-yard line or something. And instead of, they didn't have any timeouts, but instead of running up to the line and spiking it, they snapped the ball. Swing pass out to the left, and this is where Williams hurt himself because he actually, with a touchdown saving tackle, or maybe even just a point saving tackle, was able to bring the guy down in bounds. More time ticking off the clock. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, couldn't get another snap. If you'd have clocked the ball, you might have actually gotten points there. But you didn't because, I don't know. You thought you were going to catch the best defense snapping. I don't know. Yeah, and you didn't. If anybody was going to be tired, mind elsewhere, it's probably going to be the defensive front because they're big as shit and it's hard for them to get down the field. Mostly because they're at the original line of scrimmage. The defensive backs are downfield already. If anything, you should have just ran it straight ahead. That way, the ball would be around there, and you might have actually been able to clock the ball. Maybe. All right, what else? I talked about that. Turnover Lawrence, down the field. Yeah. All right, well, that's enough about my notes. I think I did almost the whole video talking about my notes instead of, the numbers and stuff. Talk about numbers to justify, maybe call your attention to. I don't know if you saw it, but look at leading receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson getting more comfortable with Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely, 5 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown on 6 targets. The next most targeted receiver, Rashad Bateman, 6 targets, only 3 catches, 39 yards, which isn't terrible, especially for Bateman. He's not that involved in the offense. Not that Nelson Aguilar down there at the bottom is either, which is somewhat disappointing, but not the greatest at pass blocking, especially with Stanley kind of hurt. They were doing this weird thing. I don't know. They had Stanley in on one drive, and then they had Falele on the other side, giving Morgan Moses a rest. And then the next drive, the carry would be in for Stanley on the left side, and then Morgan Moses would be back in. That's not a good thing. You need to go find yourself some offensive tackle because you can't pass block for shit. Maybe it's just that it's getting that hard because defenses and defensive players are finding a way to make an impact since, they get flagged for all this tackling shit. And offensive players don't get tackled. Don't get flagged for helmet-to-helmet contact. Just ridiculous. But the Ravens' pass blocking did not hold up yesterday. That is something that they are going to have to find if they really want to make a deep run into this, and especially and we'll get on to scheduling. It's somewhere around here. San Francisco. So wrapping this up, trying to close out the video. Gone long enough. Going to be at San Francisco for Monday Night Football. Christmas Day. Cool. Well, you're going to need to get your pass blocking straightened out there because they can bring pressure. They got one of the Boses. Just like there's too many Watts, there's too many Boses, and it's very hard to remember which one is which, especially if they don't play in your division. I can remember TJ Watt because he plays with the Steelers. One is retired, and the other one plays for the Steelers, but he's like a fullback or something, I think. So, Ravens really need to get their pass blocking straightened out because Monday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers. And if you are subscribed to my channel, you will be alerted when videos drop. Like, let's say, Ryno's Ravens preview, which will be coming up. Sunday will be Christmas Eve. So, yeah, I think I'll stick with Saturday. Ryno's Ravens preview. Be alerted when videos like that drop. And maybe if you miss a game because of family obligations, you'll be alerted for Ryno's Ravens review. We'll go with Tuesday after Christmas. Be sure to like and subscribe. I am the Angry Ryno. Fly Ravens fly.